What's up, people on the interwebs? Hope you have an amazing day. So I'm going to talk about 5 things I wish I knew before coming to Japan, just to make some things a little bit more easier. And also, it's very important to know these things. And I think if you ever are thinking of coming to Japan, then definitely listen to this video because these tips are very helpful. And it probably would have made my life a little bit more easier. And hopefully it'll make your lives easier if you are thinking of coming to Japan. So let's begin. Number 1 is Japanese. Obviously, that's a pretty common one, but the more Japanese you know, you will have an easier time and you can probably stick up for yourself and ask more questions and just navigate more easy. It's not impossible. I did come here with no Japanese and I'm still learning Japanese every day. But the more you know, you will definitely have an easier transition of coming to Japan, especially depending on the location you are placed in Japan. If you get somewhere in the countryside, the more Japanese you have, the better. But it's not impossible. You can still do it, but you'll definitely have an easier transition the more you can speak the language. But that's pretty much the same for any country in the world. So, number 2, banking. I'm telling you this right now. Depending on the company you go, they might try and set you up with the local bank. I will put a massive stop to this now. If I was ever in a company and they made me sign up to a local bank account, I would not do it. I would dig my heels in now and say no. Because I'm telling you this now, the best bank for a foreigner in Japan is Japan Post. Get signed up to Japan Post. You can get debit cards. You can get online apps. They are just a lot more with modern banking and they're so much helpful. I really hated my company I came here with. They set me up with the local bank in Ehime and it was absolutely shit. It was just not foreign friendly at all. I couldn't even get a debit card. They wouldn't let me get one. And the bank said it's because I'm a foreigner and they do not give debit cards to foreigners, which is absolutely insane. So all I had was a cash card. I could just use it to pull money out of my account and that was it. I can understand if it was a I can understand if it was a credit card because then, yeah, okay, I get it. I'm a bit of a flight risk. But for a debit card, where a debit card, you can only use the money in your bank account. And depending where you go in Japan, they need debit cards. So you are really limited if you are just using a cash card. You really need at least a debit card when coming to Japan. I also recommend Wise as well. This is a very good international banking app as well for transferring money from your home country and also changing it to yen, and you can use it pretty much everywhere. I've never had an issue with my Wise card currently, and I think for international banking, it's definitely one of the best apps around. So I recommend Japan Post and Wise when coming to Japan if you are ever going to live here. Like, do not do the local banks because I just think they're just not foreign friendly, and Japan Post is great. I have never had an issue. They've been helpful. They've been great. Definitely the better banks in Japan for foreigners. Okay, moving on to number 3, location. I would honestly have a really big think about location because this is quite a make or break situation. You know, it's really hard because you don't know what maybe your goal is for coming to Japan. It might just be for a year, and then if it's a year, you can have an adventure. But if it's something where you're thinking, oh, maybe Japan might become something a bit more long term for me, I would say really have a think because the location you get could cause a massive hindrance, headaches, issues, and so on. Because don't get me wrong, I love Ehime. I think it's a great prefecture, but I definitely think the location I got in Ehime was more of a hard struggle and location, especially if you didn't have a car. I think really have a think where you are because one of my things I wanted to do more when I came to Japan was to do more travel, but the location I was in, making travel was just really awkward and hard, and it was always long. I was hoping I could do more weekend trips to other parts of towns or prefectures, but I was just placed in an area where the public transport was just not that great, or is very time consuming. So I would really have a think on what your goals and plans are for what you want to do in Japan. And if you want any like the teaching programs like JET, Interact, all these other ones where you can't necessarily have a choice in the location you get, the second they give that location, I would really just have a think if you're happy with it, or were you looking for something else? Because if that's not the location you want, then there's two options I would say is still come and start looking for another job in Japan for the location you desire, or maybe don't go this year and then reapply next year. Because one benefit, if you stay another year in your home country, you can save more money and then you have more money to spend in Japan. But I would really have a think of the location you are given. And if it is not the desired one, have a think of maybe the second you get to Japan, pivot to the location you want to get to, or try again next year. Because I really think that location you get can be a big make or break, and really have a think. But yeah, the location's hard because you don't really know what you're going to get till you get there, and every area is different, and the people you get, that whole interaction and connection is that huge make or break. And sometimes it's hard, you don't really know what you're getting until you get into that town. But yeah, that location is a really big thing, and I would say really have a deep thought of the location. I honestly think have a look online, see if there's been any mentions of these towns or not. Because if you're seeing more negative than positive, I definitely think have a think of what should be the next goal after. Do you go and pivot straight away, or do you wait another year? Because I think that location is really, really important. Obviously, if you do get a location, you only want to be there for a year, then, make the most of that town, learn what's there, try some of the local things. Because one of the beauties as well, if you don't mind and you're only going to do Japan for a year, then make the most of the random adventure you get in the location you've never heard of before. But if you're maybe thinking long term, then definitely have a think. Obviously, if you're only going to come to Japan just for a year, then take the adventure. But if you're thinking longer term, then have a big think about it. And the next one is tax and laws. Really know your rights as a employee and also as a foreign citizen in another country, because some of these companies will definitely try and exploit that you don't know your right rules and regulations. One of the things I had to fight on, and I was not impressed with the company I was working with, is when I was leaving and I had to change my visa around, I asked for a letter of resignation because the immigration center needed a copy, and I asked for it. And they said, oh, we can't do it at the moment because the person who needs to stamp it with their Hanko is away and it might take a week or two. And I was like, I haven't got a week or two. I need this information now because I'm going in a month. And also for changing visas, it can take up to a month. I do not have time for this. And I was going online checking if they can do this. And I found a law stating if I need documents for my company, for my visa, they have to give it to me when I request it, because they can mess and delay my visa regulations, and it's actually breaking a law. And I stated to this that you're actually breaking a law here. And the panic they got into their eyes, because I actually discovered, my rights as a worker in Japan. The next day, what a surprise, I got the letter I needed. So really make sure you know your laws and rights, because some of these companies are definitely trying to screw you over and take advantage of foreigners who don't know the rules and regulations. Same thing with tax. If you're moving from one prefecture to another, I think a lot of foreign residents get really shocked if they move from one prefecture to another, that they get given this massive envelope with a year's worth of tax to pay. Because what happens in Japan, depending where you live in Japan, on January 1st, you pay that prefecture's tax for the rest of that financial year. And if you move, what happens, it doesn't come out of your monthly wage anymore. You get a letter stating you have to pay the rest of this tax in the next financial quarters of the rest of the year. And they are very heavy tax bills because they're based on how much you make. So roughly, especially for a lot of ALTs, if they leave programs and they move to another prefecture, this normally happens around August time. They have about maybe 150 to 200,000 yen to pay of tax alone, depending on their wage and how much the prefecture sets their tax bills to. So this is a very hefty bill, and a lot of people get shocked by this bill, and a lot of them don't take that bill into account for the budgeting of moving, getting a new apartment, paying all the apartment fees. So it really hits a lot of people in the bank account. And I wish I knew about it too, because I would have budgeted a lot better. And no one tells you this. And even I think I was just not impressed with the lack of information about this, because it's something I think a lot of people need to know, especially when moving, because these are extra accounts you need to take into the moving costs. And especially depending on people, when they move from one teaching job to another, they might be taking a pay cut. So they are getting less money, and then they have to pay this huge tax bill. I will say the only benefit with this tax bill, if you move to another prefecture, you aren't having double prefecture tax. You just stay on that prefecture's tax for the rest of that financial year. And then January 1st, they'll switch you over to the new system. And then once after April comes for the new financial year, you are then on your new prefecture's tax. But it's just an interesting system that they don't switch it over straight away when you move. Because in England, you know, if you live in one county, the second you move to the other county, you're on the new county tax system. It's really interesting. They do it set, you pay it for the full year, even if you move. And I just wish I knew about it, because they're quite big bills and they're not monthly payments anymore. You have to pay them quarterly. And I do believe as well, if you are leaving Japan, you have to pay that bill all at once. So if you are a person thinking, oh, my last paycheck, I want to travel around Japan, and I'm going to use that money for travel and having a good time before I go home. No. You're going to have to maybe use most of that, your paycheck, to pay this tax bill. So it's really important information to be aware of, because if I knew about this tax bill, the second I got to Japan, I would have been putting a little bit of money away every month just so that bill is covered. So yeah, make sure you check the laws and tax. One great thing is ChatGPT. Quickly ask him a question and he'll give you a quick breakdown. Because I will say, some of the things I had to fight through, I will say I'm very grateful for ChatGPT, because it did give me a lot of the answers and information I needed quickly. So I do think in times of need, check for ChatGPT, because I say I can't, it's really helped me in this transition period. It gave me a lot of information that people just didn't want to share or disclose to me. So I'm really grateful for the chatbot on this occasion. And then my last one is, when you are moving and getting things, try and stay away from the more kind of brand names. Like sometimes I have bought some things on Amazon because of the quick and convenience. But if you do have a car and your location's pretty good, check out the 100 yen shops, Second Street, House Off. Check all these secondhand shops, because you might be able to get some pretty decent furniture and equipment for very cheaply. Also, depending on the location, have a look on Facebook Market, because you might have a Facebook Market town around and you can get some furniture very cheaply if needed. But that's especially Facebook Market is location pending, because here in Kagagawa, the Facebook Market scene's hitting a lot more because there's more people, where Ehime, bit hit and miss because the population is not as big. But definitely check Second Street. This is a shop in Japan that sells secondhand items. Same with House Off. You can get a lot of good secondhand furniture and equipment. Same thing with the 100 yen shops. You know, if you need cheap cutlery, definitely go there. Also, another thing to be mindful of with the furniture you get, especially the electronics, check the age of the fridges and the washing machines. To a degree, I would say the only thing you should maybe buy brand new, or at least relatively newish, is the white goods, because Japan has a time frame on electronical goods. Because I had a fridge in my old apartment and I was like, oh, this is fine. When I'm moving, I'm just gonna give it to Second Street and they will take it. But they wouldn't take my fridge because it was over 10 years old. And they have a rule that they will not take electronical goods over 10 years. Same thing with cookers. They won't take a cooker if it's over 5 years old. So all the equipment I had in my apartment that I thought I could just sell to Second Street, I couldn't. I had to pay recycling fees, which was quite expensive. I had to pay an Ichimon, which is about 50 quid in UK pounds, maybe $75. And I thought this was quite expensive for recycling fees. And the thing that, for me, that absolutely sucked about it, my cooker, my fridge, they were all in good conditions. They still worked great. There was nothing wrong with it. And Japan was just like, nope, sorry, we can't sell this because it's too old, even though it's working completely fine. And I thought, what a waste of a good item. Like, it's still working fine. So really be mindful of the equipment you get. Same thing if your ALT is coming to replace someone. I would really ask them, how old is the fridge? How old is the cookers? Because if they are quite old and you are maybe thinking when you get there, you might have some issue. It could even break is another thing. Or if you are someone where you do break contract and then you have to completely empty the apartment rather than that kind of cycle continues, you might get shafted with something that's been there for over 10 years and then you have to pay the bill to get it fixed, damaged, or removed. So definitely ask about the ages of some of the equipment you get when you're moving. If you are going from someone that you're replacing and they're going to leave you like the whole apartment, definitely be mindful of how old some of the equipment is. The beauty is if you just open the doors on the fridges or under the cooker or on the door lids of the washing machines, it does say the age of the machine. But that's something I really wish I knew as well, because I definitely think I might have asked when I moved into my apartment, how old is all the equipment, just to avoid paying those fees of removal, because I was really shocked I had to pay all them. And one of the reasons I got screwed over was because I took items from past ALTs leaving, so they are already pretty old already. But yeah, those are my tips and tricks for 5 things I wish I knew about coming to Japan that would have made my life a little bit more easier, or definitely just make sure you know what you are entitled to and your rights, and just the ease of living in Japan. But I still think living in Japan is a fun place and great. It's just definitely make sure you know your rights, make sure no one tries to screw you over, because I think a lot of people, if they have the opportunity, they will try and screw you over in Japan. But yeah, have a good time, have fun. I hope this information was helpful. If you have also been living in Japan, let me know in the comments down below if there's anything you also wish you knew about coming to Japan. And also, if you are coming to Japan, let me know and tell me where you are going in Japan. I'd love to know. And if there's anything else you want to see in Japan, put in the comments down below, and keep being awesome, keep being amazing, and I will see you next time. Bye.